second day. First, we will discuss the agenda of today's workshop. So first, we will continue with the UI components that we started yesterday. Next, we will go into data binding, then the basic API calls, then running loops, and in the end, we will clear your doubts. So let us pick up from where we left off. So yesterday, what we did was to make a card and give some styling to it. So if you can navigate once you all navigate to the application and open a new terminal by going to the terminal and clicking on new terminal, then we can start with the today's workshop. Once you have done with you have opened and are ready.
So I hope everyone is having uh, these things in homepage.html file, SCSS file, and TS file, right?
So now you give Ionic serve in the terminal and op- open the application in browser. Yes, so now click Control Shift I. And yesterday what we did is give create a card, give the ion card header, then give the ion card's title, the subtitle, then the ion card content, and then we gave the app background, the card background, and the card body. Uh, so after that, what we did was generate a new page using the Ionic generate command. So the Ionic generate command you can find it in the documentation that we sent today. Next, we we use the nav.navigate forward to navigate to the new page uh, to the click function that we mentioned in the ion card tag. So to that, as you can see over here, when we click on the card, we are going navigating to the new page. Now
Can
you
you explain
open
me how
VS
to
Code.
create a new page?
How to create a new page? Okay. So to create a new page, you will need to use the Ionic generate command. So do Ionic generate. Now you can see that what would you like to generate. Now select page. Then you give the name of the page that you want. For example, I am giving as a page only, and then click enter. Now it will start generating a new page. Since I have already generated my page, I will do Control C and exit out of the process. Now to use multiple terminals, you can just click the plus button over here and a new terminal will appear. So as you can see, I'm using two terminals. In one terminal, I use the Ionic serve command so that the application keeps running. I don't have to exit out and give the Ionic serve command again. And in the other terminal, I use other commands like Ionic generate. First, you can see that we are importing nav controller. So nav controller basically he, he helps in navigating between pages. So to use nav controller, we need to specify an object of nav controller, which we in the inside the constructor, and we have given the name of the object as nav. So we call the nav object using this dot nav and implement the navigate forward function and give the path of the new page. So to see the path of the new page, you can go to app routing.module.ts in which you can see the path of new page specified as new page. So now for today, we will be implementing the form. So for that, first first we will be moving this entire card. We will copy it and move it to the new page ion content. Okay, and in the same way we the copy these last three functions in the homepage.scss and paste it in the new page.scss. Once you have done this, please, and in the new page.html, we remove this click command. We will be implementing the move function in another click command in the home.page.html. So remove the click command for now. Now, have you completed this moving of the home page and SCSS to the new page.html and new page.scss? Yes.
You have to copy from that iron card, right?
Yes, the you have to copy the iron card, the entire iron card, the, the iron card, this entire part from the starting of iron card to the ending of the iron card tag. You have to copy and paste it in new page.html. And the next one, you have to copy these three dot background, dot border, and dot card background from the dot homepage.scss file to the new page.scss file. So now next what we do is go to homepage.html, and now here we will start implementing a simple form. So for that, first we specify iron grid. So iron grid is a tag that we use to specify the rows and columns in a particular page. So for example, I gave the iron grid command. Now inside iron grid command, there are two types of subtags which are iron row. Now what iron row does is that it creates a new row. So and so we will be using two rows for now. So I'm going to create two rows over here. Next, under iron row, we will be specifying the iron call, which creates a column inside a row. Now and yes. So now the next thing which we will be doing is create a iron item inside which we will specify an iron input tag. In- So first create that the iron item tag over here, which specify which just shows that there is an item, there's a set of items inside this particular tag. Next, we give an iron input. Now what iron input does is it creates an input text field in which you can input any kind of text. Now above the input tag, we specify the iron label tag. Now what the iron label tag is that it does is that it gives the input a label based on which we will lo- give the we can give the input to the input in the text area provided. So here, for example, I will be giving the label as name. Okay. So when you go to the application, you can see that this is the label name and this is the input text area where you can type anything. For example, anything you can type whatever you want over here. Now next, there are various types of labels. First, to specify the type of label that you want, first you need to specify the argument position. Position equal to double quotes. For example, here I will be using a floating label. So I will specify here floating. So now when you go to the app, as you can see, when I click on the input area, the name moves upwards so that we get, so here we get the entire area and, and the entire area to input our text. Now next, is there are types of input as well. For example, there is a type called text. Then there is a type called password. Now what type password does it hashes all your inputs so that the user or anyone cannot see what you are writing. So for name, I will be keeping the type as text. So now we have created our first row. So now let us create our second row. In our second row, we will be specifying two ionic columns. Okay. So now you can just copy the item in the first that we created beforehand and paste both of them in the two ionic columns that we just created. So the label position will be, we will still be using floating. The name, the label of the tag we will change as, for example, I will give here age and here let me say password. Okay. So now for age is always a number. So we specify the type of input as a number, and for password, since we need hashing, we specify that as password. So now what this ion column does is that it divides the row equally into the number of times we have declared the ion column inside a particular row. When we go to the app, we can see that age and password are the two columns created and they have been equally divided in that particular row. Now we can change the size of a particular column by specifying the size argument in the ion column. For example, let me give the size of the first column in the second row as 3. Now the total sum of all the columns in a particular row would be equal to 12. 12 means that the column occupies an entire row. So here I will be specifying the size as 3. So as you can see, the age age occupies a very small 1/4 the part of the row and password occupies the rest. Now if if we want password not to cover the entire the part of the row left, we can specify size and to give the value anything less than 9. For example, let me give it as 6. So now you can see the password text field is not, we cannot enter the text beyond this part. That means only half the part and centrally aligned, we can enter the password over here. Next, what we do
Hi.
is we create, yes,
I have one doubt. Actually, it
yes.
is not showing in my app. Like I am writing those, and it is not showing in my app. How to do that?
Can you repeat?
It is not. I am changing the HTML codes, and it is not showing in my app. Like that interface.
Uh, you can. Go to file in VS Code. Go to file and click on autosave. Here
Yeah, I did it.
now you you click on this cross button and you can open the file again. Then you can see that a white dot that generally comes over here, it does not appear. That means your file has been automatically saved. Now, from since we have done it as autosave, whatever we type, it will get automatically saved, and we need not save the file time and again.
Uh,
So, are you able to see the changes now?
yeah, 1 minute. It is a new page, right?
Can you repeat?
It is a new page, right? That I create. Can you please?
This iron grid is in the homepage.html. We are implementing it in the homepage.html.
Uh, yeah, yeah, yeah. Okay, 1 minute. No, it's not saying anything. Like, can I show you the codes?
Yes, you can share your. What is the exact error? You cannot see any changes on your browser application, right?
No, actually, like that. You can see it right here. It is okay, right?
Uh, you
You
haven't
haven't served your
a bit.
application.
Yes. You give the command ionic serve.
Now it is okay, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Now
after this,
let the command finish running. Then you will be able to see the changes.
Okay, okay, thanks.
So what I did just now is I created an ionic button in which I gave the text as submit. So here you can see that the text, the ionic button with the text as submit has appeared over here. Now next, if we want the button to cover the entire width of the page, we can give over here a class class equal to, we can say, a button class over here. Okay. Next we call the class in the homepage.scss. Here we give the call the class dot button, and then we can specify whatever we want to do with the button in this class. For example, now I will be spanning the entire the button to the entire row. I specify the width as 100%. So you can see the button now spans the entire width of the page. Now next, let us add some uh, border to the button. So I specify the argument border colon space. Now the now as I told you yesterday, the border has three arguments. The first one is the number of pixels. So let me specify 2 pixels. Then the what type of border is want, I will specify it as solid, and the color. Let me give the color as black, for which the RGB is 0,0,0. So as you can see, a black border has appeared around the button. Next, let us give the button some border radius. So I will specify border radius, and let me say it as 50 Yes. I did not give a semicolon. Okay. So I will give the border radius as 50 px. So now you can see the button has a border over here. Just a second. So let us leave the border radius for now. Here the button has a border of 2 px and it spans the entire row. Okay. Next, let us add some CSS to the add a border to the name, age, and password component. So for that, we will need to specify the class to the ionic item. So I give the class equal to item. So this class we will need to specify for all the three items, and the code that we give in the in CSS for the class item will be implemented for all the three iron items that we have applied over here. So we have specified the class item to all the three. Next we go to .scss and we give dot item. Then we give it a border of suppose 2px solid, and let us give it a blue color. Yes, a bluish red. As you can see, all the inputs now have a bluish borders to distinguish what within what range we can enter the elements in it. Next, let us give a border radius to all the inputs. So we specify border radius and we suppose we say it as 4px. So let us give it as 20px. So you can see all the borders have rounded around the corners and it gives us a better look of the app. So next as we can see, yesterday we had specified this move function to navigate to the new page. So the same thing we will call the move function to the iron button that we declared over here. So there we call the click call and we specify the move function inside it. So now you will be able to see on clicking submit we are able to move to the new page. Okay. So if if you have any doubts you can ask me right now.
Mithilesh,
As
do you
everyone
mean like Mithilesh, you have written that does text include symbols? So do you mean from the keyboard?
Yes, yeah.
Yeah, you can give symbols.
Okay,
It does support them.
okay. Uh, okay, is this the end of the session? Because yesterday I did not attend and I don't know how to create this new page thing.
Okay, so after this there is another part. Okay, where I will be covering a lot of the parts which was covered in the yesterday's session. So you
Okay,
should get a better idea also, like what happened yesterday.
okay, okay.
okay, so now Sagnik will be taking over here from here on the topic data binding. Over to you, Sagnik.
Yeah, so hi guys, I'm Sagnik and I'm a member here at Think Digital. So I'm part of the app dev domain here. So I'll be covering data binding and also API calls. Okay, so these seem like very technical terms and might seem difficult at first, but hopefully by the end of the session it will be much more easier for you to understand. So this is what we'll be covering in today's the rest of the session. So first we will be going over what is data binding components. The Raghav has already done, and we will be doing basic API calls and then running loops. Okay, so let's dive deeper into what is data binding. So data binding is something which we've already actually done before this. Okay, wait, data binding is something which I've already done. Okay, so data binding, to put it in simple terms, is you connect the logic to the UI. So if you pay close attention to the Ionic project, if you have created one, then you will see there's an HTML file for each of the pages and there's a TS file for each of the page. So the TS file is the one which actually has the data inside it and the logic, while the HTML file is the view, that is the thing which the user sees. But inside it, all the values which the user sees, everything that is held inside the TS file. So connecting them, that is what basically data binding means. Okay, there are mainly 4 types of data binding: string interpolation, property binding, event binding, and two-way data binding. Okay, so string interpolation is just printing data which is there in the logic part in the UI part. Okay, so if you followed along in yesterday's count tab, okay, so there Hardik had shown that he was printing out the variable which is stored in the TS file in the HTML file. Okay, by key writing it inside 2 curly braces inside a tag. Okay, so that is string interpolation. Property binding is like Raghav showed now only. Property binding where you connect the function to the click event. Okay, so that forms part of property binding. A much more concrete example of property binding will be if you use image tags, which we haven't done today, and that you can delve into deeper. So if you are familiar with HTML tags, each HTML tag has an attribute connected with it. So image tags, for example, have attributes called SRC. Have SRC inside them. Okay, so SRC is the attribute. When you connect it to the logic part to the SRC, that is called property binding. Event binding is the click one which Raghav showed today. Okay, so click is an event. So connecting that click event to a function call, that is what event binding is. And two-way data binding is connecting an input field to the logic. Okay, so what happen? Why we call it two-way data binding is because when you give some input into it, give some input into a text field, so it stores it in the variable. Okay, and as well as storing it in the variable, it also shows you in the text input field as to what you have entered. Okay, otherwise you would be just blindly be entering a value and you wouldn't be able to see it. Okay, so as you keep entering along, it shows you as to what you've entered. So that's why the data gets stored from the view to the logic, and simultaneously the data is viewed from the logic to the view. Okay, another name for two-way data binding is banana model binding. Okay, so that's the type of data binding which are available. Okay, and now we will moving on to API calls. Okay, so does anybody have any idea what APIs are? Come on, it's not a problem if you don't know it. Even if you say a wrong answer, it's fine. Okay, so API, or everybody must have heard of the term servers, right?
Yes, yes.
So server and API are almost the same thing. Okay, so an API is a backend service, a service which doesn't run on your phone or your browser. Okay, it's a service which runs somewhere completely else, and it backend services usually deal with data. Okay, the what we are creating in today's session and even in yesterday's session are apps. Okay, these apps are client side facing. Client side facing means me, you, any user. Okay, they use your application, but the data which is shown there, most of the times it comes from a remote server. So it's that data is stored completely somewhere else. So for example, if you're using Instagram, okay, so when using Instagram, you open your browser, open your Instagram app in your phone. It identifies you, and then it calls its Instagram servers to give you the latest post. Okay, so that Instagram server is the API in this case, and the Instagram app is the client. Okay, so that's where what we'll be dealing in with the rest of the session today, to connect the backend and the front end. Okay, so API calls are basically calling that API. Like you request from that API to give me some data, you request from the API, and the API gives you back some response. That's how communication works. So API calls are nothing but the front end is talking to the back end. Okay, so the response might be in any form. It might be an image, it might be text, it might be HTML also. Okay, so every every API call happens through a HTTP request. Okay, HTTP stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. And also, yeah, I mentioned to forgot to mention what the full form of API is. API, the full form is Application Program Interface. Okay, so API calls, they will communicate with each other, but we need some language for communication, right? Okay, so for example, now I am conversing with you in English. Okay, you might converse amongst yourselves in Hindi. Okay, any language. But what languages do apps and servers communicate via? Okay, so does anybody have any idea? Okay, so if you don't have an idea, then they can communicate via a lot of ways. Okay, there are different ways of communicating between servers and client-side applications. The two most common are JSON and XML, of which JSON is the most common out of the lot. Okay, which is what we'll be using today. Okay, so we will be getting back JSON requests. So we will be using this API. Let me just find the API route. Okay, so this is the API which we'll be using. So this is what a JSON response looks like. Okay, so inside every JSON response, there exists a key and a value. Okay, so if the key basically identifies as to what that value is, so they always come in pair. The key and the value will always come in pair. There can be never such an instance where they do not come in pairs. Okay, so inside this, I get one key. The key is the one which is in the left side, and the value is the one which is on the right side. Okay, always. So here ID is the key. Okay, and keys are also always strings. So and the value here is 1. Okay, similarly the name here is the key, and Leon Graham is the value. Okay, so if we hadn't given the key before, like if the key did not exist in this response which we received, it would have been a lot more confusing. I wouldn't have understood what this meant. Okay, to me, Kulas Light is also a name, Leon Graham is also a name. Okay, so I would have been confused. So thankfully for this thing, we have key and value which we receive, and it's easier for us to understand. Okay, so let's go over the response what we receive here. This is actually an array which I received. This is an array of JSON objects. So inside each of these JSON object, you will notice I have the similar structure. Okay, every element in this array has the key ID. Every element in this list has the element name. Similarly, all other elements are always present there. Okay.
Sagni, can you zoom in a little bit?
Yeah. Hopefully it's visible now.
Yep.
Okay, great. So that is what JSON is. Okay. Any doubts till now? Any smallest of the smallest doubts? I'll try to clear it up.
The name is the key, right?
Yeah, name is the key.
Okay. And the Leon Graham is the value.
Yeah, exactly. So the value can be of different data types. Okay, so for example, if you check here, this is of type integer and this is of type string. Okay,
Is it like
but
dictionary?
yeah, if you are familiar with Python, this is like a dictionary. Okay, So this will always be a the key part will always be a string, okay. While the the right hand side, sorry, the value part might be different data types. In this case, most of them are string except for the ID part. And I'll just show you another route. This is for the API, this API itself. So if I give the pass the ID after this, so I get that only that person's data. Okay. So I don't get any other person's data, and I don't receive an array anymore. I just receive that particular person's data. So this is something which we'll be seeing in later on in the while creating the app. But for now, this is fine. I hope everybody is clear about APIs till now. Okay, and I don't think anybody else has any doubts. I will be moving on to the now creating the actual application then. Okay, so I am hoping everybody understood. So I'll be moving ahead. So I'll be moving ahead by creating a project now. So the same process, Ionic start. I won't be using the application wizard. Angular project name will be people. Let's give it any name. The template will be blank, and now it's creating it.
You have to do the same thing from command prompt, right?
Yeah. So I am using Linux, so that's my terminal looks like this. Okay, for Windows guys, it's the command prompt. There won't be any difference. So this will take some time. Okay. In the meantime, any doubts? Like what I've covered till now, what we've covered in the previous session, even anything outside of it.
In my command prompt, it is asking like, do I really want to start another project? I have to write yes, right?
Yeah. No, acha, that means you're already inside a project.
Yeah, I was in the
Okay,
previous project.
go outside of the project. Press type cd dot dot. cd dot dot.
Okay, now I have to again write Ionic start.
Yeah. Okay, good. So my Ionic has been app has been created. I can just go inside it. Now I'll start the development server by typing Ionic server. Okay, in the meantime, I'll share this link with you guys. So this contains all the file changes which I'll be doing. This isn't the whole project. Okay, the whole project you'll have to create and then go ahead with it. I'll share it here. And after the workshop, I'll be sharing it again in the WhatsApp group if you want it for future reference. So it's been completed, and this is the app which is being served currently. This is the blank Ionic starter app which is always shown. Okay, so in this part of the workshop, I won't be focusing a lot on the UI because that has already been covered in a lot of detail beforehand. So what I'll be covering is on the mainly on the logic part. Okay, so for that, I'll be just copying it from this file. Okay, you can also do the same. So I'll just copy this part. I've named them all as the same. So just copy home.page.html file content and replace it here. Okay. So there will be a few mistakes it will show here. I'll be explaining them a little later on. Okay. So inside this, what I have to do is I'll have to call the API. Okay, so calling the API, there are multiple ways of calling the API. So mainly there are calling the API. The technical term for it is a request, and there are different types of requests. Four most common and the four most widely used request types are get, post, put, and delete. Okay, so these four usually do everything. You don't need anything else other than this. So the out of this, we will be covering today the GET request. Okay, a GET request, as the name suggests, gets some data from the server. Okay, so you don't need to pass along with some information with it in the request body. You just say, I want some data." The server then listens to you and then gives you back some data as a response. In a post request, you have to give some data on the basis of which it will then process it and then give you back the corresponding response. Okay, so an example of post request, in an example of a post request is, for example, you're logging in into Instagram. Okay, so you give your Instagram user ID and then also the password. It sends a post request, and once you receive the post request, it checks if it's a valid password and email ID combination. Okay, password and user ID, sorry. So if it's valid, that means the credentials you've given are correct. Then it will give back a response. Yeah, your login is successful and you can move ahead. If it's wrong, then it will give back a response. You gave the wrong credentials. Okay, so that's an example of a post request. Put request is when you need to update something. So if you want to update something in the database where you store data, so that is for those types of requests, you usually send a put request. And delete, as the name suggests, is for deleting something. Okay, so today we will be covering the get request. And when do I want to call my API using via get request? When I enter that page. Okay, so for listening to that event, entering that page, I have to extend a package here, which is provided by, actually not a package, an interface which is provided by Angular. All of that code is also available here. Okay, so if you face difficulties, you can refer to this thing, home.page.ts. So yeah, I wrote the wrong. Okay, so on init is what I have to implement here. Okay, now if it's giving me an error, class homepage incorrectly implements interface on init. Okay, this is because I haven't used the on init anywhere here. If I don't use it, then it gives me an error. How do I use it? So I have to write this specific function only. You can't give any other name to this function because on init has this function. I can't override the name of it. Okay, so here I'll just print console.log in homepage. Okay, so for now I'll just comment out this part, otherwise it will give me errors. Okay, and let me just see this. Okay, I'll remove every log here, refresh the page, and yes, see, it says in homepage inside a lot of data, I know, but yeah, still it's visible. Okay, so that means whenever I enter that page, it will call this function inside the homepage, or this ng on it function, ng on init, and it will print, okay, in homepage. But here what I want to do is I want to call the API. Okay, so for calling the API, I can, as Raghav yesterday showed you the Ionic documentation page. If you go inside that,
What we have to do
um,
after that in home page?
uh, yeah, that's what I'm showing currently. Okay, so if you go inside this, go to docs and then select native APIs. Okay, so if you search here, you will find something called an HTTP package. Okay, you have to search a lot. See, I found it. HTTP package. Great. Okay, now HTTP package, you can use it for calling that API. Okay, so see this .http.get and then the link for that API server link. Okay, the server link in this case is this link only. Okay, it's not different anything. So this will create a GET request, I am not, of course, you won't understand the whole code now, but you must get a basic idea from the lines which is there. As this.http.get, it creates a get request, but we won't be using this. The reason why we won't be using this is because Angular only provides us with its own HTTP module, and the benefit which we get from using Angular's module is it can then run on the web too. Okay, if we use the Cordova plugin, then it will only run in Android and iOS. Okay, that is on a physical device. But if you use the Angular's one, the one which Angular provides, then it will run on the web too. So which is brilliant for us. So it will run on the web, it will run on the phone. So why limit ourselves? So for that purpose, we have to import it. Okay, so for importing it, give it inside curly braces here, HTTP client, not from this package. Okay, and I have to create a variable for it inside the this we have to write inside the constructor. Create HTTP client. Okay, so it's fine now. I'll just write something here, otherwise it will show me errors here. So this is fine, but this should show me an error here. See, it gives me a huge error here. So the reason for this is I have to inject that dependency before we can use it. Okay, so for that purpose, we will be going into the home.module.ts file, and inside this, we'll have to write HTTP client module. Okay, so this auto imports it brilliantly. And what I've basically done here is whenever I enter into this page, this folder is actually opened, and inside this, I'll just say to the Angular app that we are using this module here, get ready to use it. Okay, otherwise it won't be ready and it won't understand when what I'm referring to when I try to use HTTP here. Okay, so now we can use the HTTP module here. It doesn't show me any error, and that's why, yeah, I can go ahead. Okay, I am copying a lot of the code, I know, but the thing is this, otherwise it will take me a lot of time. Okay, so bear with me. I'll explain every line of code which I write. So inside this, I have to create my own data type first. Okay, why I am creating my own data type? Otherwise, I won't be able to consume this API. Okay, so see here, I am receiving ID, name, email, username, everything. Okay, if I create my own data type, I can store this data, each elements in that array to my own data type, an array of my own data type. Okay, so for that purpose, you create an interface here. I have created an interface here called people, rather give it a better name, person. Okay, and it has the value fields, name, ID, username, email, everything. Okay, so name colon then the data type. So I will be receiving the name of type string. I will be receiving the ID of type number. Username I'll be receiving of the type string. And address I will be receiving an object inside which will be these fields: street of type string, suit of type string. You get it? Okay, and now I'll be creating a variable here which will store them. Okay, so I'll be creating this people equal to empty array. I'll be giving this data type people array. So not people, person. Okay, so this creates an empty array of type person, the type which I've created above here. And also I'll be creating another variable called loading. Why? Because whenever I'm loading that thing, so whenever I will be calling that API, I won't have anything to show to the user. So the value of the loading field will be true when I'm calling the API. Once the API has been called, okay, and I receive some data, then the value of the loading will change to false, and then we can show the data. While the loading variable will be true, the user will see text something loading anything which you see. Okay, so why we need to do this? Why we need to show the user something at least? That is because APIs, calling APIs are asynchronous tasks. Okay, asynchronous tasks is anything which doesn't happen one after the other. Okay, calling the API and receiving back some response. It is usually inside that time you have to wait for it to end. Okay, so they don't happen sequentially. You have to wait till you get back some response, and once you got back the response, then only you will be able to show something. If you don't show something, the user will be confused. Okay, and that leads to a bad user experience. We don't want that. So that's the thing. Now here see type boolean trivially inferred from a boolean literal. So to remove this error, either you can remove the data type, or else I'll do something better. I'll give the value inside the constructor here, the default value. This dot loading. Okay, and inside this now I'll be calling the API. So I'll explain what I've done here. First of all, I've called the created a GET request, and I've used the HTTP module client which I've created here. Okay, I've called the API, the route which I've given here, the same API route which I'm using, and after I've done that, I am subscribing to that GET request. Okay, so now understand it in terms of YouTube. So everybody here must use YouTube, right? So if there's a favorite creator of your own, so you subscribe to that person's channel. Why? Because once you've subscribed, you will get notifications. If they have created a new, uploaded a new video, anything. Okay, similarly when we subscribe to this here, so we get notified of any changes of any event which happens when we've called that API. Okay, so when we receive some data, a callback function is then called. Callback functions are functions which happen which are called after a particular task has been completed. So this get request will then call the API route, and it will get back some data, and subscribe then passes on the data which it received into this function. Okay, inside this, so it takes in a parameter data, and then I can work on that data. I can do anything with it. Okay, in our case what I'll be doing is I'll be first typecasting it. Okay, that is I will be converting it first. Okay, so data here, if you hover above it, you can check the data type. Currently it is of type object, but I know it to be of this particular data type. Okay, it will be of this type, persons, an array of person. Okay, so that's why I typecasted, and I call the map function. The map function is an array function which takes in each and every element from that array and passes it on to its own callback function, in which you can literally do anything with it. Okay, in our case, we will be taking each element and then adding it to the end of the people array here. Okay, once you've done that, I'm just printing console.log people and then the value of the array. Okay, and then I'm setting the value of loading as false. Okay, so the logic part has been implemented, but we need to show this also to the user, right? So that's where that's for that purpose we will be moving on to this part, the HTML part, and comment this. Now here see div. This is special thing about Angular. This is conditional rendering in Angular. Okay, we use this thing called star ngIf. Okay, so it's basically nothing but it's a if else condition. So if loading true, okay, because loading will always be a boolean variable, so if loading comes back as true, then it will show loading. Okay, if loading not loading is equal to true, that means when the value of loading will be false, not loading will become true. Got this part, everybody? Great. Okay, so it will give back true, and then this part will become false, so that's why it won't show me loading. Then it will show me this div. Okay, inside this div I'll be creating a for loop. This is another thing, another Angular specific thing. Okay, star ng for. So what it will do is I'll create an array loop here. Let person of people. People is the array which I've created in the TS file here. Okay, and I'll be taking each and individual element out of it, and then I'll be referencing to that variable as person. Okay, leave aside this router link for now. I'll be going over to it later. Now I'll be just printing out that person's name and phone inside this. So this is string interpolation, okay, which I was telling you about earlier in the data binding part. So here I'll be showing person name and person phone. Let's check, okay, if it's working or not. See, great, it's working. Okay, refresh it. It first show me loading and then the people. Okay, great. So I won't be doing any styling here. Styling, I have added a little bit about it in the gist which I've sent you. You can copy that. It will just style it a bit. Okay, great. Now we can then move ahead to the newer. But the thing is, move ahead to the next part. Yeah. So now if you check, I am getting actually a lot of data, not just the name and the phone number. Okay, I'm getting their address, I'm getting their exact location, website, everything. What if I want to show that? Okay, we can't possibly show everything in one place. Okay, otherwise the user won't be able. User won't feel good about it, and then they won't use the application. So to show in detail, what we can do is we can create a separate page. Once you press on that page, only that person's details on whom you've tapped will be shown. Okay, to create that, first of all, we need to create a page. So to create a page, you need to write ionic generate. You must expand this window here a little. Choose page here, give the name as details. This will create a page for me. Brilliant, it's created a page for me. Okay, now when I go inside this, I'll be I'll again be copying it from the previous file here. Okay, so I've copied it from the previous one. Here also I've created this interface people thing. I'll be renaming it to person or other. Okay, so this is also like the previous page only, and here also if you check, I have used HTTP client. So for the to use that, I have to do the same thing here also. And here also I have to write HTTP client module, and yeah, I'll be able to use that. Okay, now the thing is, to navigate, Angular creates these paths for me. Okay, path details. But I want to create a separate page, not actually separate page, rather I want to show different data for different people. Okay, so how to identify those people? So every person which I receive from the API here has this ID feed. Okay, and that is unique to everybody. No two people, no two person shares the same ID. So that's why I'll be just passing the ID here. To do that, I'll be creating a query here. To create a query, /: and ID. Whenever you write colon, whatever you write after that becomes the query parameter. It behaves like a variable. Okay. So whenever I, for example, here, if you check, if I pass user /1, this is also the ID query parameter, but I am just passing 1. So that it understands that it has passed the value of ID as 1, and that's why it only shows me the person with the ID as 1. If I change it to 3, for example, it will show me the third person. Okay, that's how queries work. So similarly, we are implementing that here, and inside this, to get that query, what we'll be using is another library here. Not library, this is provided by Angular only. Activated root. Okay, activated root gives us access to the current root which is currently we are using. Okay, not the other roots. So when we get that, I'll be doing pretty much the same thing. Like I'll be subscribing to that query parameter. Okay, this.root.params.subscribe. it gets back the param. Okay, the param here is an object. Okay, and it passes it on to a query callback function. Okay, so it prints the param here. So let's check by clicking on this root here. Let's see. If I go to this here, then it creates a prints that object for me, id 3. Okay, so that was the id of that person. So yeah, it's printing here. Now we can make the same API request here, this.http get the same API route, but here for in this case we only want that particular person's ID, particular person's details. So that's why I'm concatenating param.id after that. Once I've done that, I get back the response as and pass it on to the callback function, where we are then storing it inside this value person, and then I'm printing it, then I'm changing the value of this loading to false. Pretty much the same thing here in this details page.html, which I haven't copied brilliantly. Let me just copy it. Okay, and here also the same thing. Ng, if it's the value of loading is true, then it will show loading. If it's false, then it will show the name, phone, and address. Okay, same thing. And here also in the title also have added, it will show the name of that person. Okay, now how did the navigation happen? I like Raghav showed before this, he used nav ctrl, the nav controller. I haven't used that anyway. So how is it happening? I have given this router link. Okay, so this is also property from Angular itself. Inside this, this is the syntax to write it, and I have to pass a string. That string is the value where I'm actually navigating to. So slash details. So that will be common every time, because see, check here. If you check here, the path I've given details, that has to be there. And then the person's ID. Okay, so person.id. ID which I receive is a number. I have to convert that to a string. So that's why I use this function toString. They are concatenated, and for every person, it will go to a separate route now. Slash details slash 3 if the person's ID was 3. If the person's ID was 2, then it will have gone to 2. Okay, but they don't actually go to different pages. They all end up at the same page here. Okay, just that they have different routes, and inside this page we will be getting accessing that route, getting the param from it, the param ID, and then we can get that particular person's data. Let's see that in action here. So I've got every other person's data here. Let's choose this guy, loading, and then it shows me this. Brilliant. Okay, so I haven't styled this properly, that's why my back button is overlapping the name. Okay, if I style this properly, then it will come properly. So that also I have provided here. If you check details.page.scss. Okay, that I haven't given here. Okay, I'll add it to this on later, but yeah, that's the thing. So go to any person. If you check the URL here closely, localhost 8100/details/8. Okay, so because the ID of the person was 8, if I go to this guy, this will come as 2. So yeah, that's the thing. So that brings us to the end. So that is how you make API calls, and there is nothing much more here. I know this is a very bad looking application, but that is not what we're covering in this part of the workshop.